The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. Now, here he is, author of Liberalism is a Mental Disorder, Trump's War, and God, Faith, and Reason, Michael Savage.
Of the United States of America. The radical Muslim world has declared war on America.
Well, those words are true today, aren't they? I wouldn't have replayed them. That was 17 years ago today on, of course, 9/11, when they attacked us in the year 2001. That's the opening to my show of that day. And I listened to it and I said, well, is it still true? Has the radical Islamic world declared war on us? Is that no longer true? Need I refer to Mark Zuckerberg to see if it's true, or Mr. Dorsey to see it's true, or do I need to go to Big Mother at Apple? Do I need to go to Big Brother at Schmapple or Snapple or Papple? Do I need to ask the authorities if that is still true to see if they will ban me from expressing the raw truth? Well, it's still true. Are there any words that I said just now that are not true? I wouldn't have said them. Is Islamist terror still a threat? How could you say it isn't? Or should I say this to please the gods of the social media companies? Perhaps the United States should admit more Muslims to show we are not racist. Maybe that's the right thing to do. Why don't we bring in more Muslims to show we're not racist, to show that we cooperate with the Muslim world? Now, there's another piece I'm going to play today, which is a shooting in Los Angeles. Body cam footage was released today of a shooting of a woman officer by a gangbanger. In a few minutes, you'll hear that. What a brave girl this girl is after she gets shot in the leg. You got to hear what she says. And the cop got shot because of you. The reason the cop got shot is because of you left-wing vermin. In the old days, this wouldn't have happened. The cops would have approached the car with their guns drawn, and they would have had to drop on this gangbanger from L.A. before he was able to shoot this woman police officer in the leg. But as a result of Barack Hussein Obama, and whatever the name of that other guy was, whose name I forget, who thinks he's going to be the president of something, the attorney general, whatever his name was, another monger of hatred, who attacked the police for 8 years straight. As a result, the police are now intimidated, and gangbangers get to shoot them first. Thank God that the backup partner killed this piece of garbage before he could kill that woman cop. Wait till you hear that one. What else? What else do I have to show you today? Oh, Syria, big story. Yeah, the guns of war, they're getting them ready. After all, the election's just around the corner, and the old walrus there is now front and center. He's strutting around. He's showing his oats. He's feeling his oats. I don't know if he's showing his oats. He's feeling his oats. That's the new national security advisor. Last year at the Mar-a-Lago, he couldn't even get the leftover meatballs at the leftover trays. He was circling like in the outer ring of the outer ring. He was behind the Fox News hosts who couldn't get near the president. Now, oh, yeah, wants war with Syria, wants war with Russia. Oh, yeah, he's strutting around there. I was watching RT last night. That's Russian television. I know I'm not supposed to watch it. I may be arrested any day now for watching RT, but I watch RT because I also watch a German language station in English. See, the RT is in English, owned by the state of Russia, meaning state-owned television. I watch the news on a Deutsch or something or other. I like it very much. I like to see different perspectives. I watch Japanese television in English. And what I notice is that the broadcasters, the commentators, are far more intelligent than ours. The women are somber-faced. They don't smirk. They don't look like prostitutes that just came out of a gym. They don't shake a leg and dangle a shoe in your face. Some of them speak 5 languages, which is more than I could say for most of the American people in the media, don't even speak one language correctly. And I was watching what they were doing about Syria, and they were saying it's really odd, but this guy Bolton and his team has already declared that should poison gas be used in Syria, they know that Assad did it. That's before it's even been used. He did it already. And they said it's impossible to believe that the American people would be this gullible. No, nothing's Listen to me. You can never go wrong underestimating the stupidity of the American audience. That's all I can tell you. Wherever you're listening in the world, you can never go wrong underestimating the stupidity of the American audience. On both sides of the aisle, by the way. Don't think I'm sitting here and, do the other thing that they're stupid and this side's smart. They're all dumb. By and large, people are stupid. They don't know what's going on. So already they're saying Assad's going to use chlorine gas on the people in Idlib. Now, again, I'll try to use logic, which has gone from the American scene. Let's see now. They've beaten ISIS out of every corner of Syria except one. ISIS has withdrawn to their last stronghold. Russia wants them wiped off the map. Syria wants them wiped off the map. That's ISIS. Remember, you hated them a few months ago? Well, since Bolton came along, he was brought in just for the job. Bolton was brought in by the neocon brigades. He's a member in good standing of the New World Order. Bolton is the one who gave us the Iraq War by lying about weapons of mass destruction. And here he is again now. They're going to lie about chlorine gas in Syria. Now, why would Assad use chlorine gas to take out the last vestiges of the radical Islamists hiding in Idlib? Why would he do that with the world watching? Well, he wouldn't. Why would he turn the world against him? Well, he wouldn't. But you're supposed to believe that, and they're pretty sure you will. I hope you don't. I'm on record saying it makes no sense. Assad would never use gas. He doesn't have to. He has the Russian and Syrian Air Force to use instead of poison gas to wipe out our common enemy, which I think it was our common enemy. But then again, I'm not so sure. You see, I say that for a reason. There was a time Osama bin Laden himself, the mastermind of 9/11, was our ally. I don't know if you remember that. But there were reports, not reports, it's well known, that he was known as a freedom fighter in the Reagan era. Oh, yeah, we sent him Stinger missiles, machine guns, bullets, grenades, rocket launchers, whatever he needed was sent to the freedom fighters under Osama bin Laden. That's when he was fighting the Russians and shooting down Russian helicopters. But soon thereafter, he became our enemy. Just as now, we're seeing that Osama bin Laden, who is dead, but his offshoots, such as Al-Qaeda, ISIS, who are hiding in Idlib, are now our allies. Now we're hearing from John Bolton. John, he's known as the Walrus, the little guy with the big mustache. Or shall I say the big mustache with the little guy? Whichever way you look at it, set and frame. You got to know which way is the frame, which way is the set. The big mustache with the little guy who's up there saying that now they're our allies. ISIS is now, they don't even call them ISIS anymore. They don't even call the radical murderers in Idlib Islamic terrorists anymore. They're called freedom fighters again. Yeah, and they want you to believe it. But then again, you probably will. MAGA. MAGA. That's on one side. On the other side, you got Hillary. It's Hillary versus the MAGA crowd. So I'm trying to give you what's actually happening. That's the opening to the show, but I'm not ready to take a break. I'm just ready to start. Question. I have no question. I have a bunch of questions. I threw them out already. I'm really excited because my new book, Stop Mass Hysteria, is so close to part fruition. Could they give birth to it already? It's like watching a child come out of a womb. Please give birth to the book already. It's like waiting for a child that's late. It was due 2 months ago. It's like overdue. No, it's supposed to be published early October, but it should have been out a month ago. With what's going on? Are you kidding me? Stop Mass Hysteria? America's Insanity from the Salem witch trials to the Trump witch hunt? No, it's not on time. No, it's not perfect for the time. People are saying I look like a detective on the cover. Brand new picture of me. You'll like it. That's with the original hat. I still have to sell that hat, I think, on eBay and give the money to the favorite charity. That's the Gucci hat. It's an old hat. Great hat. It is a detective hat. Dun, 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 dun. What you're about to hear is true. Only the names have been changed to protect the guilty. So I'm thanks, Clint. That was quick on the draw. I like that. Well, we're not changing the names. John Bolton is not the innocent. John Bolton was plucked out of Nowhereville in order to be the propagandist of the New World Order, while you think that he's a member of cleaning the swamp. He actually is the swamp, in my estimation. Because if he wants war with Russia, Iran, and Syria all at once, I don't. Now, I'm not saying that we couldn't win that war. I'm sure we could. Our military is better than all those militaries put together. But does that mean that we should use our military just because we can? Is this country that crazy That no matter who's in office, we go to war? Is that what we're about to see now? I pray not. I really do pray not. Because when Donald Trump ran, all through 2016, he was a man of peace. He said he would get us out of the Middle East. He said, and actually, he was quoted as saying, I'll get us out of Syria faster than you can say Syria. I have the sound somewhere. Well, why doesn't he get us out of Syria? Why are we still there? Why don't we just get out of there and let Russia and Iran take over Syria and wipe out the terrorists? Well, there's a clear geopolitical answer to that, and I'm not Hank Kissinger. I don't go to discotheques. Oh, no, I'm not old Hank. I'm not just slipping around on the old dance floor here. But there's a reason we don't get out of Syria and let Russia and Iran move in with Hezbollah, and that's Israel. You could say, well, okay, then we should be there. Well, I'm not so sure. Are we going to, for the rest of the life of America, be Israel's protector? I don't mind providing Israel with weaponry, which we've been doing since the beginning, which is great. The Jews are entitled to a homeland. It is their homeland. They're entitled to be safe and secure in their homes. They're a wonderful nation. But on the other hand, I'm an America firster, to be honest with you. I was long before Donald Trump ran for office. And I've said the same thing before Donald Trump was even mentioned on the radio shows. America first, not last. And we can't wag the dog for any nation on earth, including Israel. Are we allies? Yes. Sure, we should help them. But I don't really want to go to war with Russia or get into a third world war for one reason. One, we shouldn't. And number two, Israel should be able to take care of themselves by now. With all of their weaponry, with their advanced military, with all the nuclear weapons they have, with all of the satellite technology they have, I think they can take care of themselves. And I don't think that we need to spill American blood in the Middle East. And this is my statement for 9/11, 17 years after the infamous 9/11, 2001. I'm Michael Savage. Be here.
Savage.
Believe it, 2001 was 17 years ago? How is that even possible? Remember when you had like old people and when you were young, they would say to you things like, oh, don't worry, it goes by so fast. Wait till you see when you're older. Were they wrong? Do you know that 25% of Americans were not even born on 9/11, 2001? 25% of American people were not born yet. Do you think the millennials even know what 9/11 was? They probably think Donald Trump bombed the Twin Towers. That it was done by if they were told that Donald Trump planted the bombs in the Twin Towers and they went on Facebook with that or Instagram, they probably would believe it as long as they put a stripped naked girl next to it in a bikini somewhere who said that he did it. They would believe it. This is what we're dealing with, the stupidest generation in the history of the world, thanks to Mark Zuckerberg. One man has destroyed the entire mind of the world. I don't even think he did it on purpose, just that the people generally take the path of least resistance. So if you don't read books and you're illiterate and you speak maybe 50 words of English, wouldn't it be easier to just tweet and communicate on social media? What do you need books for? And show you're behind every 3 days? And say, oh, my bikini fell off? Listen to Savage's monologue from September 11th, 2001, when they attacked the USA. You want to hear the raw sound? You're going to hear it. You can find it on michaelsavage.com. And people are commenting. They said, yes, I heard you that fateful day while living in Hawaii. I appreciated what you had to say very much. I cried like a baby when I first saw and heard this, Michael. Very dramatic and touching with the Star-Spangled Banner playing. Gives me chills. Christopher says, sadly, I'm not sure it woke everyone up. Matt says, we're weaker today than we were then. We're weaker today than we were then, where men have been debased. Men don't know what it is to be a man anymore because women in their ignorance chose to destroy the American male. This country will eventually get what it deserves. That's bitter. TK says, I remember where I was when I heard this broadcast. The entire show was intense. Please consider releasing excerpts. Well, TK, it's right now on my website. Great speech, and on and on. Todd says, I was tuned into you that day. I got chills then, and I still do today. That was the day you became my favorite talk radio host. You became family, a long-lost, passionate uncle, instructing me on love of country and fighting for her liberty. That's a beautiful statement. Good American Girl says, 17 years later, and our borders are still wide open. We're still at war. And if you go to the Drudge Report, on the borders wide open, if you want to have a jaw-dropping moment, they checked out on the border, and they found 17 Pakistani nationals trying to sneak across. Can you believe this? Yeah, why not? border battle, crossing surge, that's under MAGA. Still no wall, but still no wall, but a higher number of illegals coming over the border than ever. MAGA. And then on top of it all, 100 Bangladeshi nationals apprehended near Texas. 100 of the Muslims from Paki were coming over. Then immigrants cited the theft of 39 million Social Security numbers. They all come here to work. Sure, they all come here to work, Mark. They're coming to work the system, you idiots, you. So what am I, the last of the Mohegans? I really know what's going on. Then they got, this is a great story from yesterday. I became somewhat obsessed with Mark Zuckerberg's obsession with an ancient Roman emperor. I thought that was an interesting story. But you have to think about it. The guy didn't get where he is by not being driven well, you fill in the blank. So I posted this yesterday. I said, Augustus Zuckerberg, an emperor complex, may explain his genius and his future downfall. I thought that was an interesting take on Zuckerberg's obsession with Augustus. He's obsessed with an ancient Roman emperor. He idolized the ancient Roman emperor Augustus. And if you look into Augustus's background, we're in for quite a run here. Mark Zuckerberg's, I keep ad blocker on, I hate that. Mark Zuckerberg's obsession with an ancient Roman emperor offers insight into how he runs Facebook. The Facebook CEO's idealization of the ancient Roman emperor, who he says made difficult choices, yeah, Mark, to achieve the greater good may explain some of his decisions. Now, that's quite a statement, Mark. He made difficult choices to achieve the greater good, like wiping out people in his own population who are innocent, like you do with social conservatives, Mark? Are those the difficult choices you're making, you putz, you? If there's a God in heaven, Mark, go to a Rosh Hashanah service and read about contriteness, Mark Zuckerberg. Read your own people's Bible. Never mind the ancient Romans, Mark. It's Rosh Hashanah. There's a piece of the Jew left in you, isn't there?
Savage.
So, we talk about 9/11, 2001. If you missed the opening to the show, well, you can hear it on the podcast replay, which is like radio on demand, which is the way I watch television. I don't tune into television anymore. I can't. I'm hooked on Netflix. I shouldn't say it because they're so left-wing, it's frightening. But I do watch a lot of things on Netflix because I get into this, the episodes in the series. Like I'm in the second season of Ozark, which stinks. You know what's funny about that? The first season of any show is usually great. The second one's sort of good. The third is horrible. It's like talk radio. The first hour is usually great. The second hour, people repeat themselves. The third hour is garbage, basically. That's what's going on radio. It has from the beginning. The first hour is captivating if the person does the job. The second hour, they repeat themselves. The third hour is nothing. Season 2 of Ozark is falling apart. It's not plausible anymore. They've run through every possible, scenario already. I mean, we like the white trash accents and all of that in Ozark. And the Mexican cartels are good. But now the Mexican cartel lawyer is no longer menacing. She's like, what did they do to her? She's like a soccer mom in season 2 of Ozark, right? Season 1, she was frightening when she came out. You don't know what I'm talking about. Most of you don't even get Netflix. See, this is the problem with talk radio audiences. They're basically poor, and they don't get cable, and they certainly don't get Netflix. So I can't reference. And if you don't read books, then you're finished altogether with me. So let's go on to the simple news. Mark Zuckerberg, him you heard of. Zuckerberg, yeah, I know that one. Yeah, we don't have anyone like that down on the Lake of the Ozarks down here, but we heard of him. They're up in Atlanta somewhere. Well, Mark Zuckerberg is a brilliant guy who built Facebook. And he's obsessed with an ancient Roman emperor. And the new article in CNBC is so worth reading, which I linked on michaelsavage.com. So he idolizes the ancient Roman emperor. Now listen to what this guy says. Zuckerberg said during an interview with the New Yorker the following. You have all these good and bad and complex figures. I think Augustus is one of the most fascinating. Basically, through a really harsh approach, he established 200 years of world peace. That put chills up my spine. Hitler tried to achieve 1,000 years of peace through harsh methods, Mark. How'd that work out? Like Zuckerberg, Augustus assumed power of his empire at a young age. To attain world peace, we read Augustus had to make choices, quote, I'm quoting now Zuck, that didn't come for free, and he had to do certain things, said Zucker. But in the end, he said, he achieved peace. He achieved peace? How do you think he achieved peace, Mark? How? It's real simple to figure out. He dominated everybody and killed his enemies. That's how he achieved peace, by killing off his enemies. That's all. So this is who you're glorifying? Aren't you glad that Zuckerberg is not the government? He's bigger than the government. He has more power over what you can say and what you read than the government does. And that's why these companies have to be nationalized, in the sense that they have to be made into public utilities. When Facebook stopped growing at 50 million users in 2007, Mark Zuckerberg created a growth team to focus on getting more users. So what were the solutions? Smart. He added more languages to reach out to new territories, as well as asking the Federal Election Commission to exempt Facebook from disclosing political ad funding sources in 2011. Oh, really? Now, who was president in 2011? Can anyone raise their hand? Anyone in the back of the room? It also opened its platform to outside developers before putting safeguards in place to make sure user data wasn't misused. Oh, really? No kidding. So foreign nations were allowed to sway U.S. elections with manipulative content because of Zuckerberg. And that's the story here. It's very interesting to see this. It's quite an insight into this guy. And I say he's a genius. But all geniuses also have their flaws and their Achilles heels. And at the end of the day, unless these giants who are the pirates of today, the tech pirates of today, are the trusts of the era that Teddy Roosevelt was president. How many times have I said to you, bust the trust, right? Bust the trust, bust the trust, bust the trust. These are trusts that need to be busted. They are the Standard Oils of today. The problem is they have so many lobbyists in and out of the White House and Congress. It's very likely that they could never, ever be broken up through the machinations of the U.S. Justice Department Antitrust Division. Don't get me wrong. I don't even go on Facebook. I have a Facebook account. It's too complicated. It's too cluttered. Okay, now we're moving on. Forget. No one's following this. They don't care about Zuckerberg and Augustus. Most people are still on vacation mentally. How do they get away with this? No one works in America. They get diabetes, heart disease, brain cancer. They eat like... You ever see what people eat on a vacation? Have you ever looked at the feet of people? Have you looked at the ankles of the average American on a buffet line in Mississippi at a riverboat? Let's say you're going on a riverboat vacation, if, God forbid, you have to do that. And I don't even mean a moving riverboat up the Mississippi. I'm talking about an anchored riverboat that's on piles, so you think you're on a riverboat, with all the hucksters in, like, ties and looking like Mark Twain's illegitimate grandfather. But let's say you're on the riverboat. They have an unlimited buffet. Have you looked at the ankles of the people with the sandals and the feet and the bulging veins? It's unbelievable. The diets are related to. No one tells them that. They think all I got to do is take like an anti-cholesterol pill, an anti-diabetes pill, an anti-thinking pill, an anti-speaking pill, and listen to conservative talk radio, and boom, they're in business. No, you need more than that. Like occasionally throw a book into your brain. Believe me, it'd be better for you than those short ribs. Am I being nasty and bitter? I hope not, because I'm not trying to be. What am I talking about? You're the only one talking right on Syria. No one cares what I'm saying. Ozark, I got one caller on Ozark. One person gets Netflix in the entire audience. Speaking of Netflix, which most of you don't watch, I started by watching the thing on the Mexican drug cartel. I forget his name. It was great. It was done. Huh? What was it called? Narcos. Unbelievable. Chilling. Frightening. The hatred for human life as expressed by the characters in that Narcos, the wholesale slaughter of men and women and children and infants by them is frightening. And we all know what's going on in Mexico and seeping over the border because of NAFTA. But we knew that then when Bush was president. When they opened up those 6 super fast lanes into Texas, we knew what that was about. Yes, indeed, we did, Mr. Bush. Oh, say, can you see? We knew what that was. Everybody knew that, those 6 super lanes. Everyone said, wait a minute, there's going to be no inspection, President Bush. From the Star-Spangled Banner. Mr. Bush, no inspections from Mexico? Oh, say, does that, Mr. Bush, please, Star-Spangled Banner, yet wave, you cracker idiots. That's how it works. That's how it works. People, you can do anything. No one ever went broke underestimating the mentality or the education level of the American audience. Just look at Mark Zuckerberg. Yes, indeed. So, well, this is your show. If you care to comment, maybe you'll be lucky enough to get on the program. Maybe we should do 30 days to a more powerful vocabulary for a few minutes. No, I'm sorry. You're the Instagram of radio out here. This talk radio is like Instagram for the mind when you think about it. Unless you say liberals bad every 3 minutes, and Fusion GPS, that's a big one. Mueller, you got to throw in Mueller. Then MAGA, got to throw that in. That's like Instagram. It's like a bikini flash on Instagram to the audience. To keep them listening, you got to do what Wallbanger does all day long. You got to basically do the same thing all day long, every day. Bash liberals, wave the flag around. I don't know, say something good about the cops and military, even if you don't mean it. It's unreal. Look, I'm a little too cynical for my own good. I get it. I understand that. But it's how I am. It's how I've evolved. So I should talk about God for a minute, since it's like a very religious time for me. It's like once a year. I'm that kind of guy, It's like the Jewish New Year was the other day. The worst dinner of my life. I never went to one like this. I'll never go again. Never. It was like dining in the rubble of Stalingrad, where I had dinner Sunday night. I couldn't believe it. I was told it was like marble rooms if I went some dinner down. It was on 5th and Mission in San Francisco, which is the heart of the drug trade and bums. I couldn't believe where I was. It was like I woke up in another universe. Why they would choose to have a dinner for the Jewish New Year in the worst neighborhood in the city is beyond me. I knew not to go, but I went. Can you imagine I went to this thing? There were bums and junkies and drug addicts, pimps, prostitutes in the street. You took your life in your hand getting out of the car. But, okay, so we went in. But then the horrible part of the dinner was, I shouldn't really say it. I'm not meaning to insult anyone. It was absolutely the worst dinner of my life. My guests went home early. I wouldn't even let them eat. 2 of them went home shivering and shaking from the noise of the crowd and the bad band. That was number one. Number two, I was told I was going to eat in some marble dining room. They sat us in an outdoor area outside this building in a vestibule that looked like the rubble of Stalingrad. So, being that I have a good sense of humor, especially, it's called a, what do you call it? Like, it's just anyway, one of my friends that I invited is Phil. He's a Vietnam, a highly decorated combat veteran. I love Phil. I'm actually honored to be in his presence, but he says I have a huge following amongst vets, and I don't know why. I'm not a soldier myself, but they like the show. So Phil and I were sitting there with his lovely wife, and Tony's another friend of mine, Colonel, and all of this. Wife was there. Someone else. 2 of my friends I sent home early. I was afraid that they would die from the cold out there sitting in the vestibule. So in this vestibule, all the walls looked like the rubble of Stalingrad. Was sitting in this rubble. Why would they? And it was freezing. So they put heat lamps up on top of it all. So I started to tell jokes about about dining. I said, Phil, doesn't this look like if you were to build a stage set where you wanted to film a crazy Buñuel-like dinner in the rubble of Stalingrad, would it be here? Phil laughed hysterically. He said, yeah, get styrofoam rubble, put it here. It'd be perfect. While people are eating on white tablecloths and there are candlelit tables in the middle of it. You have to understand what I'm talking about. Louis Buñuel. It's another arcane reference to people who grew up on Instagram. Buñuel was a surrealist filmmaker. My whole life is like a Buñuel movie sometimes. When it's good, when my life is good, it's like a Buñuel movie. When it's bad, it's like a Disney feature. When my life is like a Disney feature, I really don't like it very much. I try to make it into a Buñuel movie where everything is sort of absurd. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? All right, let me say a few things to keep you listening. Let's see. Mueller bad. Mueller bad. Mueller bad. Mueller bad. MAGA good. MAGA. Put your hats on now, folks. So liberals now. Got a liberal bashing caller. Haven't you heard enough of that for like a lifetime? Them, they, the left, the liberals. How many times do I have to say? How many times do you have to hear the same thing? We know already the story. That's all. Why do you want to talk about it again? Don't you want to, like, 30 minutes to a more powerful brain by thinking through and past that? So then the food came. They were feeding us early to get back to that wonderful dinner, the religious dinner. And I saw already 2 of my crowd went home screaming for the noise. They couldn't take it. The others were sitting there shivering in Stalingrad waiting for the food to come. So they knew we were upset. So they said, okay, we'll serve you first. So someone asked me afterwards, the guys who left early, how was the food? I said, well, it was like the kind of cold mush that you serve Alaskan sled dogs. Any other questions? Well, what was this caterer all about? It was like cold mush that you would serve a sled dog on Alaskan bush people. Back in a minute.
Savage.
these troublesome times, you want to hear of trouble aside from illness? How about when your car breaks down? How about when you take it in for an oil change and a mechanic finds something wrong and bing, you're hit with a repair bill like for thousands of dollars? Good thing that there's a thing called Car Shield. It's a great company. If your car breaks down after the manufacturer's warranty expires, it could cost you thousands to get it fixed. What do you think an engine costs today, or even a sensor? Over $1,000. So Car Shield is the way to go. It makes the process of fixing your car for covered repair very easy. You can have your favorite mechanic or dealership do the work. It's your choice. They also give you 24/7 roadside assistance and a rental car while yours is being fixed for free. So listen carefully. If your car has between 5 and 150,000 miles, it does not mean you have to pay high repair bills. That's a large spread of potential there, right? 5 to 150,000 miles. You can sign up Car Shield, and they've paid out close to $2 billion in claims. They're ready to help you. So save yourself thousands in future car repairs. Get covered by the ultimate extended vehicle protection. Call 800-CAR-6100, 800-CAR-6100, and mention code SAVAGE, or go to carshield.com, code SAVAGE, and you will save 10% and get a great deal. Again, that's carshield.com, code SAVAGE, or call 800-CAR-6100. You must mention code SAVAGE. A deductible may apply. It's a good deal. Do it. So what would you like me to continue with? The 9/11 flashback? I haven't played the whole piece. My actual broadcast can be heard on michaelsavage.com. When in the next hour, I got to play the LAPD cop, the lady cop, the woman, in a routine traffic stop. She asks the driver, who she recognized, a gangbanger, speaks politely to him. Ordinary traffic stop. She's very polite to him. She talks to him. She asks him to get out of the car. He gets out and shoots her immediately. Luckily, she survived the shot in the leg. She's a very brave lady. I got to tell you, when you hear the sound, you'll understand why I say that. And also lucky for her, her partner had the presence of mind to shoot this piece of trash dead with one shot over the roof of that police car. I got to tell you, these people are so well trained. You know, I go to gun ranges sometimes to qualify for a license. And now I understand why the police train all the time. Because it's life and death, blink of an eye, that they got to react pure muscle memory to kill the bad guy. They can't think. There's no time to think, should I shoot? Now, the reason this woman got shot is because of Barack Obama and Eric Holder and Ferguson. It all started with that big lie about Ferguson, Missouri. And now it's led up to one cop after another getting shot because they're all hesitating. And just remember, the other side doesn't hesitate. Wait till you see this video, which I linked up on michaelsavage.com, because the gangbanger gets out all peacefully. He says, sure, I'm getting out. And out of nowhere, he pulls a gun and shoots her. And the reason she got shot is because she didn't shoot him first. And the reason she didn't shoot him first is because of you, the good liberal. The reason she did not shoot him first is she was afraid you and your psycho babble travelers from hell, funded by George Soros front groups, would have screamed racial profiling or this or that. And so as a result of the witch hunt against police, just as there is a Trump witch hunt, there's a police witch hunt, just as there was a Salem witch hunt, just as many other people were insane in American history, the liberals are currently the most insane generation in American history. And as a result, police are being shot. And we're wide open today as we were on 9/11. We're almost as vulnerable as we were then. In some ways, not. We're not as vulnerable on airplanes, for sure. I feel much safer on a plane now. I mean, with the hardened doors, right? Most pilots carry guns. That's all good stuff. And I got my trusty can of soda ready to throw on a plane. So planes are fairly safe, but the border is wide open like cheese. We don't know why. I know why. Because of you, the liberal. The same reason cops are unsafe. The Border Patrol could do their job. You don't let them do it. Why? Because you need more fake voters. You need more fake voters. You need more fake voters.
Savage. Warning, the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. Now, here he is, author of Liberalism is a Mental Disorder, Trump's War, and God, Faith, and Reason, Michael Savage.
The United States of America. The radical Muslim world has declared war on America. We are at war We are at war. Attention, America. This is your Pearl Harbor. This is your Pearl Harbor. In the World Trade Center today, a World Trade Center that no longer exists.
2001.
Demolished by
2001.
2 hijacked airliners, taken over by radical Muslims. Ladies and gentlemen, you will never forget this day as long as you live. It is time for you to come out of your sleep. It is time for you to put your hats on forward. It is time for you to throw your pornography in a bonfire. It is time for you to turn off your sports. It is time for you to turn off your entertainment. You will not have a nation unless you awaken and stand up like a man.
Well, that was 2001. God, what a long time ago it was. And things have changed, haven't they? There was no social media, imagine. 17 years ago, Mark Zuckerberg was a homunculus. He was an infant. He was a homunculus at that time. The others, I don't think they existed at the time, 17 years ago. They were. Imagine if you invested in their stock. That's all you're thinking. But life goes on. I mean, for the Jewish people, year 5779, almost 6,000 years of contiguous religious and cultural history. The foundation of Western civilization is built upon Judeo-Christian beliefs, Greek knowledge, Roman history. That's what Western civilization is, which is why the left hates it. So I celebrate it every year. You know, it comes around Rosh Hashanah, which means the head of the year. It's like the Jewish New Year. It's like hard to remember all this stuff. I was in a Chinese restaurant last night, as usual, and I said to the Chinese lady who owns it, I said, how do you say Happy New Year in Chinese? Well, surprisingly, in Chinese, it's very similar to Shana Tova. It's not the same. It's just interesting from the perspective of linguistics. Every culture has a Happy New Year saying to it. Jews are no different. So I went to a gala dinner Sunday night, which was at the sundown, blah, 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 the prayers. A madhouse in the worst neighborhood in the city. I knew better than to go. I was reluctant. Sometimes I don't trust my own instincts, and I went anyway because I needed somewhere to go, and it was horrible. Fifth and Mission, my God. It was like going to the Bowery in New York for dinner. Can you imagine? What would you expect there? Bums, junkies, murderers, pickpockets, prostitutes, needles. I never saw anything like it outside of that building. All right, so you go and you figure it's going to be different. It was actually worse inside. Not in terms of that, but in terms of the mayhem, the disorder, the noise. And then they sit me for dinner in an open-air atrium in the middle of this building. It looked like Stalingrad. So two of my guests, when they got home, I apologized to them. You imagine inviting someone to dinner and having to apologize to them afterwards? So I sent them an email. I said, my apologies for dragging you to this horrible neighborhood. I was told it would be an elegant venue. I said I should have known better. Anyway, thanks for being there for the Siege of Stalingrad dinner with us. I owe you both an upscale night, best Michael. I never apologize to people who I invite to dinner, but I felt so embarrassed. So my friend Phil is such a gentleman. See, this is military. He's so military. He says, Michael, it was a gas. The gallant Soviets defending floor by floor. Patriotic rats taking Slivovitz and rude Russian Mahorka tobacco to the defenders. The wind howling through the holes blasted in the walls by T-34s. The rubble-filled courtyard set for a banquet. Guests wide-eyed to be caught in the floor show beyond their imaginings, while plates of chicken are traded as if in a North African slave market. I said, Phil, you're a straight guy. You're a military guy. You're a guy. How did you know? I didn't know that you had a beatnik in you. So he told me when he was at the Virginia Military Academy, they read Howell and other beatnik literature. I mean, I didn't know that. Yeah, these guys are super literate. Never underestimate people. That's all I can tell you. Then my friend Jack, who was there, had to leave early to take Maurice home. And he sent me something. I got to read what he wrote. Then I'm going to move on to the news. He says, I couldn't wait to leave. The volunteer band was horrible. It was like a Mel Brooks movie. Young Frankenstein meets Hitler in springtime for Germany with Soviet troops approaching the Fuhrer bunker. It also reminded me of the story Mask of the Red Death by Edgar Allan Poe. I have such good friends. At least they have a good sense of humor, right? Mask of the Red Death. I hope. Well, no, you would know if you had food poisoning within 8 hours. Thank God it was so tasteless I didn't eat it. That was the good thing about the food. It was so bad I spat it out. It was as though I was in prison. As I said, it tasted like cold mush you would serve a sled dog for Alaskan bush people, where there's not even a Bunsen burner to heat it on. So I ate, but I went home, and one of those nights. They meant well. But no one's calling on any of this. They want to hear the same thing. Fusion, GPS, liberals bad. That's all. It's very hard to change the format of radio unless you love so much what I'm doing that you're listening. You're listening to every word. There's a funny thing about radio you don't understand that I learned over the years, which is that it doesn't mean like how many callers you get don't reflect on whether the people are enjoying the show. A lot of you become captivated by me like I'm a snake charmer. When you hear that I'm what's the word? Ebullient, and you feel my voice is bubbly and I'm excited like I am today, you'll basically sit back and listen. You won't call, right? But if I want to pump you to call, all I have to do is say certain key words like MAGA or liberals bad or wall, build that wall, or lock her up. I could get you to call if I wanted, with questions based upon the key words that trigger you. But I'm not Bill Maher. Or the schmuck on Morning Joe. What an idiot he is. These people are so low, they do anything for ratings. Don't they realize how stupid they sound? Did they really care? When I wrote Stop Mass Hysteria, and I said America's insanity from the Salem witch trials to the Trump witch hunt, which will be out in 2 weeks from today or 2 weeks from Tuesday or so, I do mention some of these Joe Palookas in the media. They're whipping up the mass hysteria in this country. And there ought to be a law against it. I think there should be a law. The problem is who's going to determine who in the media is whipping up the mass hysteria. It'll be determined by who's in office, right? Yeah, well, that's the problem. That's why we have no censorship. That's why the genius founding fathers gave us the First Amendment, to make sure that there was no censorship. So the problem is when you give people like Zuckerberg more power than they're entitled to, and they become a public utility, but they're not regulated as such, they then become censors worse than a government would be able to become. There's no FCC controlling them. It should be. See, if you're not going to make them a government entity, a public utility, there'd be something equivalent of the Federal Communications Commission. There should be a board like the, let's see, what are they called? The SCC. That's too much like the SEC, the Social Communications Commission. That would work. Social Communications Commission, SCC. Okay, I want to be the head of the SCC. And I want to tell Zuckerberg and the others what they can and cannot do to censor conservatives. I think there should be a Socials Communications Commission. I'm not going to ask you should there be. There should be. I'm not just going to pump you to get you to call. I'm not that desperate. Now, before we get through the opening set of this hour 2 of the Savage Nation, I have to play what I told you about. There's a video going around from the LAPD, which they produced to get ahead of the vermin on the left who were going to condemn the cops for shooting this gangbanger dead. So they produced a video of the body cam footage. I put it on my website. It's very, very hard to watch. The sound of the gun is frightening if you're not used to gun sounds. And even if you are, it's frightening. And you got to listen to the female officer who knew the perpetrator before he shot her and how politely she approaches him. And then listen carefully, but get ready for it. I'm warning you, the sound of the gunshot is extremely alarming, but it's the sound of the gunshot from your friends in the gangs in Los Angeles. The ones you want to bring in. Listen carefully.
How you doing? Good? Haven't seen you in a while. Still on probation?
911, ma'am.
What?
911, not discharged.
You just discharged?
No, 911.
Oh, 911. Okay, I'm going to have you step out of the vehicle.
Okay.
You don't have anything on you, right? Good.
Oh, no. Shots fired. Shots fired. Noble, South the plumber.
Oh, my God.
Are you okay?
Oh, yes, officer needs help. Noble, South the plumber.
Where'd you get hit?
In my left leg.
Okay. You gonna be okay?
My left leg.
And you're going to come to my
Oh, my God.
I got you.
It's burning.
He's down.
It's burning. Just get him.
And if you need anything in response to the help, call Noble, South the plumber.
Get an ambulance.
Give me an RA rolling now. For my partner, hitting the leg.
When that girl says, just get him, I had tears in my eyes. What a brave girl. And I have such rage in me for the American left. They shot this girl. They shot this female cop. As sure as I'm sitting here, the left wing shot that cop in the leg. Because in my day, this never would have happened. They knew he was a dangerous gang member. He was known to them. They pulled him over, and the reason they didn't have drawn gun is because of the vermin on the left, like you. all you good liberals, you self-righteous phonies who are protected by the men and women in blue. You're the ones who shot that girl in the leg. Because of you and Barack Obama. Because of you and your hatred for the police. Because of you with your hatred of law and order in this nation. The bums are desecrating our neighborhoods, crapping in our streets, leaving needles in our playgrounds, shooting police officers. You are the reason that we have such insanity in this country. Make no mistake about it. But, you know, when that young lady gets shot, you hear her scream. It cuts right through you. I mean, it's like listening to a baby cry if you're a man. I still have the DNA where I hear a baby cry. Everything in me reacts to it. I can't help it. If it's in a movie and I hear a baby cry, I want to reach out and protect the baby. I hear a woman cry, I want to help her. That's what a throwback I am. And then she says, get him, get him, get him. It's so beautiful to listen. So the next time you see an officer, you know what? Buy them something on me. Go and buy them something. Thank them for your life. And also thank God for the officer with her who killed that piece of crap with 1 or 2 shots right over the roof of the car. You got to watch this video. Her partner was on the other side of the car as the gangbanger got out, making believe he had no weapon. Shoots her in the leg. God, you know, he could have killed her. Could have been a little higher and she'd be dead. And the other officer, thank God for his training, killed him with that first shot. It's something to behold. And the reason the LAPD released this, with all the body cam footage, is to get ahead of the vermin in the ACLU, which is the most dangerous organization in the history of America. The ACLU has done more damage to this country than Al-Qaeda has. The ACLU is the most dangerous terrorist organization to our values and our social order ever imaginable. So if you want to talk about terror, it's the ACLU. You want to talk about terrorists? You want to talk about the terrorists in this country who are unraveling our social order? The ACLU, the National Lawyers Guild, and 100 others that I have in the book, Stop Mass Hysteria. You heard me right. Yes, there's the enemy within. They're conducting the mass hysteria against our social order.
Savage.
Now, before I forget this article, many California marijuana products are failing safety tests. This just came out. Either failing tests for potency or for purity. Many of the companies selling this garbage, licensed by the state of California, are finding unacceptable levels of pesticides, solvents, and bacteria, including E. coli and salmonella in marijuana. But you don't know that because you think it's natural, it's good for you. It's like eating cow dung and saying it's natural, you idiots, you. Why don't you go eat some cow dung and then say it's natural? That could be a trend on Instagram. They show an idiot. I saw Instagram the other day, some girls washing her face with their own urine, saying it's good for acne. Do you realize how stupid these people actually are? So now you're going to tell me marijuana is good for you? Good number of them failing safety tests, never mind levels of THC that they're lying about. Put that aside for the idiots who need to get high because they're so stupid that life itself is not good enough. But we're talking about pesticides, bacteria, mold in the marijuana, impurities such as bacteria, mold. And no, you just keep using that bud. It's really good for you. Perfect for your brain. It's not bad enough society where it is today with Mark Zuckerberg's Facebook. It wasn't stupid enough to begin with. Now you have to add marijuana to the mix. All right, anyway, I got that out of my system. 855-407-2828, 855-400-SAVAGE. The time is so short, I don't have time to develop an idea. 2 minutes. I'm watching a clock every second there. 2:18, 2:17, bottom of the hour. 2:16, 2:15, 2:14. I live by the second. Never mind living by the minute. If you're in talk radio, you live by the second. Ask anyone who knows me. You heard the old saying, a New York minute? I'm like a New York second. So are you an altruist, an egotist, a chauvinist, a liberal, an Epicurean? Maybe you're an atheist or an agnostic. Or perhaps you're a stoic or a jingoist. Or do you consider yourself a fatalist or a conservative? I can guarantee you that of the talk radio audience out there, they may know 2 of those words, which are liberal and conservative. They don't know what an egoist is, a chauvinist, an Epicurean. They may know what an atheist is. They may know what an agnostic is. Do they know what a stoic or a jingoist is? How about a fatalist? These words are not taught anymore. These are words that were generally taught in high schools when I went to school. So what am I trying to say to you? I'm so smart. I'm trying to say to you that America's that dumb. That's all. So I was at that dinner the other night. I was joking about how bad it was. I'm not going to bash it anymore. I got it out of my system, thank God. But a lot of people came up to me. Some young men came up, well-dressed, and they said, they saw Teddy. They didn't recognize me because I'm a radio guy, thank God. They said, "Are you Michael Savage?" Yes. Forget about being... I had like a small group of 5, 6 people. So we're sitting in the hall. There's noise and mayhem. And we had like our own little tray of appetizers that we got. And so we're eating them. So this crowd, people try to come over and actually try to take our appetizers off our table when we're sitting alone. You put food around Jews, you don't know what it's like. So my friend Phil is Italian, says, no, you don't know what it's like until you're around Italians with food. It's the same thing. People would reach over in the middle of my little crowd at a little table to try and take an appetizer, to swat their hands off like vultures. They were coming around the table. They're trying to take my cheese whizzes away from my dog. I said, it's a private party. Go away. Could you imagine a place like this? It wasn't like a Buñuel movie. It was a little form of hell. It was hellish, in other words. That's what it was. You talk about confused, disorderly, mayhem. It was a wonderful night all around. And then getting back to the car, I needed an armed guard to get me into the parking garage to dodge the junkies and the needles.
Savage.
Back to the Savage Nation. I feel like a new year has begun. For me, forget religions. Like every year in September, when I go back to school, it was like a new year began. To me, January never meant the new year. It was always September when I had to get away for vacation. So it's always a new year, a new beginning for me. So in the new beginning of talk radio for you, maybe every once in a while I'm going to do a little word stuff. Can you figure out which of the following words that I'm about to read? Well, you tell me in your own mind the minute I read it to you. I'm not going to quiz you. You will. I'm going to read you 14 words. Tell me if you know which word is the opposite in meaning to the word I'm about to read. I'm giving you a little English lesson. So the first word is, and I'm going to read you the word. See if you can tell me the opposite to that word. Gluttonish. What's the opposite of a gluttonous person? Abstemious. What's the opposite of real in actual existence? Number 3, an object of hatred. What's the object of hatred? The opposite of an object of hatred. What is the opposite of someone who is politically direct and honest? That would be Machiavellian. That would be the opposite. What is the opposite over the words control over the mob so that it is without power? What is the opposite of completely ignorant? Knowing nothing. The opposite would be omniscient. What is the opposite of an idol? Someone loved by all. What is the opposite of an idol? Like, he's an idol or she's an idol. The opposite would be pariah, right? What is the opposite of someone who is indecisive or wavering? Peremptory. What is the opposite of leaving the emotions unaffected? Poignant. What is the opposite of someone who is satisfied or uncomplaining? That would be a querulous person. What is the opposite of someone who you say is authentic and true in every way? That would be a specious person. What about something that is found nowhere, completely absent? You can't find it anywhere. The opposite would be ubiquitous. So if I said that silica is ubiquitous in the sidewalks of New York, that would be an example of ubiquitous. What if I say that that person is crude and boorish? The opposite is unctuous. And finally, what's the opposite of someone who is modest? Vainglorious, right? Then I'm trying to show you words. It's complicated. The English language is a great language, but you have to study it. I can't imagine how hard it is for a foreigner to learn this language. It's very difficult. Most of us don't even speak English, especially with the advent of the social media. It's gone below that of a 6th or 5th grader in my day as a student, maybe below that of a 4th grader. How many words of English do you think the average person on Instagram or Facebook actually needs, or Twitter? What age level? What grade level? What IQ level? What IQ level do you think is functionally necessary to be on Twitter? An 80? Someone out of a mental asylum could go on Twitter and tweet, "Feel good today." That's all. That's all you need. You're a genius. Just show your bikini. All right. Anyway, that was my little lesson now. What's up? What else do I have? Oh, here's a crazy person. Wait, I got to sneeze. Maxine. Oh, here's the button. Hold on. Well, I can't. Sorry about that. I have a sneeze button. It's all the way on the other side of the desk. I never use a sneeze button. It's funny. All my years in radio, I never hit the cough button. No, you could run the show now. I think I'm getting a cold from that Stalingrad dinner. Sitting outdoors, it was frightening. And the mush food. So Maxine Waters, as you well know, is a hater. But because she is of a certain type, you can't say it about her. But, you know, she keeps saying Trump should be impeached and he should be removed under the 25th. I would like to see that the 25th Amendment is applied to congresswomen and senators, and I would nominate Maxine Waters immediately to be removed under the 25th Amendment. I want you to listen to this and tell me that you don't think this woman is totally BS crazy. Listen to clip with Maxine Waters, number 6.
There are those who said that we lacked civility when I got up and talked about the president's cabinet, and I said, if you see him anywhere, if you see him at a restaurant, if you see him in a department store, even at a gasoline station, just tell him you're not welcome here or anywhere. And so it frightened a lot of people. And of course, the lying president said that I had threatened all of his constituents. I did not threaten his constituents, his supporters. I do that all the time, but I didn't do it that time.
You hear the crowd? They vote. That has the same vote you do. You could have an MD, a PhD, a law degree. You could be a computer genius. That crowd of morons votes also. Isn't democracy wonderful? That a person of this mentality who belongs in a nut house can actually whip up crowds to go attack voters for Trump and not be removed from office? I blame more the ballless Republicans than anybody else. Now, to show you the 25th needs to apply to Maxine Waters immediately to save Congress from itself, she goes further. Listen to her in 07.
And so we have a responsibility to continue. I had a conversation here today when someone asked, but what about Pence? If you were able to impeach, Pence will be worse. And I said, look, one at a time. You're not one down, one at a time. You knock one down, and then we'll be ready for Pence. We'll get him too. We cannot be intimidated. We cannot be made to fear anybody who would undermine our ability to have a decent quality of life.
Okay, Maxine. So that mob that you're inciting with your mass hysteria of hatred and stupidity, that's your decent quality of life? That mob that attacks Trump voters in gasoline stations and in supermarkets, that's your idea of civility, Maxine Waters? Well, we know that there are people who come along who are purely evil. In my mind, she's purely evil, but she's also got a tinge of insanity. And I'm just saying, I think that there should be a 25th Amendment applied to Congress and drug tested. That's been something I said for years. Pee in a cup, every one of them once a month. Pee in a cup. Randomly, too. Sergeant at Arms, everyone in Congress, drug tested, day and night. Randomly. Senate, House of Reps, make them pee in a cup, every one of them. That's the only way to solve this problem. I don't know what she must be on. Is there a certain medication that causes stupidity and violence in the mind of a person? Because that would be the drug she must be on. What medication causes that kind of rhetoric coming from a person who's in the House of Representatives? Do you think the Founding Fathers ever envisioned Maxine Waters in the U.S. House of Representatives? Forget race for 1 minute. Forget sexuality or sexual, male or female, for 1 minute. A person of this lowness? Do you think the Founding Fathers ever envisioned a People's House of Representatives with someone egging a crowd on to violence? I don't believe that they did. I don't believe she belongs in the government. I believe she belongs in a mental hospital, personally, where she can get the treatment she desperately needs. And desperately needs it. She does. So desperately. That's my opinion. Now let me take some calls. I haven't done that yet. It's going fast, because I was off yesterday. Always the first day back, my loquaciousness gene gets kicked in on double time. And the time flies so quickly, you know. So I got great callers on all these issues. I don't know which one to take, truthfully. I honestly don't know. It's not like a hot, you know. All right, let's go to the marijuana call. Brian on KSFO. You heard my article that I found about the toxicants they're finding in marijuana the mislabeling, the mold, the pesticides. What's your point, please?
So I work with a thoracic surgeon, and we see patients all the time. Well, not all the time, but we do see them where they never smoked a cigarette in their life, and they come in with lung cancer. And a lot of the young kids, they think that, oh, marijuana cures cancer. It does not cure cancer. It is an appetite stimulant, and it also relieves pain. But if you smoke something, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be a twig off a tree. It's a carcinogen, and you're going to get lung cancer. And it's such a huge thing that I wish people would understand.
It's not only the smoke from the marijuana that is toxic, but the marijuana itself contains constituents or contaminants, rather, that are toxic, in some ways far more toxic than tobacco smoke and tobacco itself. So even if you chew it as an edible, you're getting toxicants in the marijuana that you're chewing in your little candies. No, this is a mass hysteria. The use of marijuana today is an absolute hysteria that's out of control. And I know we're going to get the pot callers now telling me I'm all wrong and they could beat me up even though I drink a beer at night and they smoke marijuana. I get those idiots. They can tell me they could outrun me. They could do. I don't care what you can do. It doesn't matter what you think you can do. You're killing yourself. Marijuana is a form of self-suicide. It's a drug, a deadly drug, a real deadly drug. Moreover, you can't titrate yourself as you can with alcohol. In other words, if I drink a glass of wine, I usually have no more than another glass of wine. That's the end of it. I get feedback. You get no feedback from marijuana. And you start babbling, you sound like Maxine Waters after a while. You start spewing violence, and you think you're spewing something peaceful. That's what marijuana does to people. It makes everything upside down. Your optic chiasma gets reversed. Anywho, here we are in the Savage Nation. Let's take another caller. This one is about Syria. WABC, Tony, go ahead, please. What's on your mind?
Hi, Dr. Savage. Thanks for taking my call. I just want to say, I've been listening to you a long time, and I heard your monologue before about Syria and Bolton and the whole connection with Israel, and I just want to applaud you for your honesty and your courage, because that's just not something you hear, especially on with your colleagues on the station in New York. It's very refreshing.
Well, I don't listen to them. What are they, all gung-ho for war? All of the so-called conservatives want war?
No, but basically, in my opinion, what you said about Israel, I think some of the others would interpret that as anti-Semitic, which is ridiculous.
That's absurd. That's absurd. Israel is a nation, and as a nation, it can make mistakes. And as a nation, it can mislead other nations. What do you mean? It's like a perfect nation? I've never heard of a perfect nation. Have you?
No, I have not. But
All right, so Israel's not a perfect nation. Moreover, it should not be our permanent duty to defend and protect Israel for the rest of the lives of this nation. It's enough already. Israel has enough weaponry to defend itself. And if it doesn't want, why would Israel want ISIS to remain in Syria and Idlib? Can you explain that to me? And Al-Qaeda. Why would they want a presence of Al-Qaeda in Syria? There's only one reason, which is to keep Assad off balance. They would like a complete guerrilla army inside Syria to keep Assad occupied, because they're afraid if Assad takes over Syria again, they will join with Iran and Hezbollah in attacking Israel, but they're wrong. And the reason that they're wrong is because Russia has put their own troops on the border of the Golan Heights to prevent such an activity. Did you know that?
Oh, sure.
No, I'm saying Russia is actually acting in the interests of the peace in the area, not for war, for peace.
I agree, and you never hear this on any of the media.
Well, because they're stupid. They don't really watch anything or learn anything. Well, they watch Fox News for their whole opinion on everything?
Seems that way.
All right, well, I go well beyond one channel or one book or one article or one author. And all I can tell you is that the Middle East right now is a tinderbox, and unless Bolton is removed from office immediately, we'll have a world war. This is the man who gave us the war with Iraq based upon the false narrative that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. As a result, Bush buffaloed us all into thinking we had to attack Iraq. How many men died in that war, of our own men? Forget the Iraqis for 1 minute. Do you want another war in the Middle East because of this warmonger, this neocon Bolton? I don't think... And if you hear conservatives saying that they do, they're not conservatives. They're liars.
Savage.
Okay, we're all talking about security today on 9/11. How about home security? Huh? I can't tell you strongly enough how bad the home security industry is today. It is broken. The legacy companies are stuck in the 80s, still locking you into 3-year deals, still hitting you with hidden fees, crummy technology, doing all the things that your neighbors complain about, but Simply Safe Home Security happens to be different. They get it right. Simply Safe was started just 10 years ago with a simple mission: fix the industry. And what they did was they eliminated contracts, middlemen, and pushy sales guys. Simply Safe made it easy to set up your system with no hard wiring or tools. You can do it yourself. With Simply Safe, you get professionally monitored 24/7 protection for just $15 a month. That's your home protected by police dispatch and fire dispatch through Simply Safe. Everyone loves this system. Simply Safe protects now over 2 million people. They've won Editor's Choice Awards from CNET, PC Magazine, and Wirecutter. So go to simplysafesavage.com. It's a special website, and you'll get your Simply Safe system. You'll get a 60-day risk-free trial by going to simplysafesavage.com to protect your home and family. Write it down and go to it. simplysafesavage.com. It's that simple. Let's go to the callers, such good callers. KSFO, Dan, line 3, what's on your mind? Go ahead, please.
Yeah, right now I think marijuana is probably in a very pioneering stage where tobacco was 30 years ago. They have no idea, no clue what's in it. They still don't have any clue what's in tobacco. There's over 3,000 chemicals in there that are produced, and they don't know what happens after they interact at 600 degrees temperature, the volatiles that are produced. Anyhow, we worked for a company that actually represented another firm in Oregon where they could claim that the government claimed that it had malathion on the actual marijuana plants sprayed on there.
Wait, hold. The government said that they found malathion, the toxic pesticide, sprayed on the leaves. Right. And what are you suggesting?
They made them destroy $10 million worth of product, and we were able to produce out of the same lot and batch and prove in the laboratory conditions that when aphids attack marijuana plant itself produces a chemical almost exactly 1 molecule away from malathion.
Wow. What an intelligent design cannabis is.
Very fast, yes.
So you're an expert in phytochemistry, so let me ask you this. If the plant can produce malathion, like a malathion-like compound, to kill an aphid, what might that plant be producing when it's ingested by a human being and the plant is interacting with bodily functions, bodily enzymes, bodily this, bodily that? Might it be producing toxicants as well?
Absolutely.
Well, that's what worries me. This rush to make marijuana into the cure-all is what worries me. It is definitely a form of mass hysteria, and I'm sending you a copy of Stop Mass Hysteria so that you can stop the mass hysteria with regard to many things, not just marijuana.
Michael Savage, a host like no other.